Hi everybody, my name is Schloder. I'm Jordyn, and we are here today to talk to you guys about YOUniversity. It is an application we developed over this past semester. Just kind of want to talk about the sort of research process we went through and learning the necessary components for this, and sort of following the software development lifecycle and things of that nature. So let me just get this going.
All right, so whenever we first started out, we pretty much asked ourselves, what is the goal of this application? So we both have a lot of Java experience, so we decided to make an Android application. And the goal of the application was basically to compare, have prospective students be able to compare colleges. We also wanted to be able to create a backend to hold all the college information that we're going to use, simple and easy to use user interface. And then towards the end, we wanted to kind of have the app direct students kind of towards YOUniversity. So this is just planning and designing. We decided, we're going to use software development lifecycle, which is kind of the steps here: plan, analyze, design, implement it, and then maintain it afterwards. Then we also use the IEEE standards, which basically is just an organization that sets the standards for documentation and stuff like that.
And the one document that we really focused on too was what we have listed here in the SRS. It's a software requirement specification document. It's essentially just kind of one of the beginning points of, plan out what you want before you actually start creating things. That way you're not constantly questioning yourself along the way. So we started with that document there.
Okay, cool. And then we asked ourselves, what functionalities will the application have? So we wanted to be able to search for schools and compare. We had an option for favorite schools, which just basically saved your favorite schools. The save searches, so you can save the parameters that you search by, and then the save info, so save like the user information, like maybe where you're from or anything like that. And then also we asked what information would be used to search for the parameters for the search. We'll kind of get into more of it, but this is kind of a basic: the state, locale, which is kind of the surrounding area of the college, and just kind of going down. Then we asked what information will be returned, so the name, surrounding area, school type, and so on. So then we asked also how will the application handle logging in users and storing their information. We actually decided to use Amazon Web Services, which specifically Amazon Cognito for the login. Basically, they had a pre-built user interface or system that we actually imported into the app. So all the user information was going through that, and all the data was stored on actually their servers. After that, we were wondering, where are we going to get all this college information from? So we researched, and there was actually a place called IPEDS, Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System. And basically, it has, in the database, it has over 8,000 colleges, and basically every single thing you can want to know about that college. So from that, we decided to have that and put it on EC2 instance from Amazon Web Services, which basically just was a virtual machine that housed the database.
And part of our research process as well was, going into this project, we had not as much knowledge of the way that the back end of an application runs, which would be like the database and things of that nature. A little bit more of the front end, but that was a big part of our research, was deciding what kind of platform we wanted to use. We looked in, obviously, Amazon Web Services, but we also looked at things like Microsoft Azure and Google Firebase. They're all similar platforms that offer remote databases, remote service, things of that nature. Ultimately, we went with Amazon just because we could get it for free, and because we had some components that, like Jordyn said, we could implement and just kind of pre-built, so we didn't have to worry as much about the aesthetic piece of it. And just kind of to run through the way that we pass data. So on our EC2 instance, which is essentially just a virtual computer, we have what we call a LAMP server running. It's essentially just, we have Linux running on the server, we have an Apache web server that makes it accessible via the web, we're running MySQL as a database, and then we're running PHP in order to interface with that database. And the way that the data flows essentially is when you first log into the application, which we'll show you here in a minute, you enter in all your search parameters like you saw. It then packages all those search parameters into one singular file and sends it off to our server, which takes it in. We have a PHP script on that server that kind of comprehends all that and breaks it into little pieces and builds what they call an SQL query, which is essentially just a statement that allows it to run against the database so that we can get the appropriate results back from the database. So database does just that, sends it back to the PHP file, which then packages it back up into what they call a JSON file. It's just a file type that's easy to read for humans and as well easy to pass into the Android application to read. So that gets passed back to the application. Application breaks that information up and then parses it into a list that is then readable as your search results, essentially. So we're going to show you guys real quick just a demo of how this works. I guess I got to run over here real fast. So you guys can see here. Let me show you this really fast. So this is our pre-built UI that we implemented from the Amazon Web Services. You can see we just have a basic username, password, login. Why did this appear? That would happen. There we go. All right. So creating an account is an option. Obviously, if you just download the application, you just enter your basic information, username, password, and then you hit your sign up button. If you do have an account but you forgot your password, it comes with a password, forgot your password link, so you can enter in your username, have it send you an email confirmation code. You'll see on my phone actually it does just that. You get a confirmation code, so you can type that in and then reset your password. And then I do my password already, so type that in here and we'll get logged in. Sends the information to the server, obviously, and verifies that it is a valid account. Pretty basic runnings, but again, for what we were doing, we didn't really know how to do a lot of this, so it was a lot of research and getting everything running really well. But we have our basic search for schools option. This is our search parameters here, and they are all optional, so you don't have to search by any one. You can leave as many blank as you want to, depending on may or may not allow you to view the results. But so you see here you can search by state, and we kind of have a pre-built search here. We pick PA. You have different surrounding area types. So you can be in a city, a suburb, town, whatever kind of schools you want to look for. Public or private university. Whether it's a 2 or 4 year institution, you can choose like a range of students that are on campus, and then you can search as well by max cost per year. If you do that, though, you do have to specify whether you want to stay on or off campus because the numbers vary. But we just said 45,000, and again, you can just watch all the way through. So sends all that data to the server. Server sends back our list of schools that we get from that result. So you'll see here that we have a bunch of different schools. You get the name, the address, surrounding areas, all the costs and things of that nature. And there was actually a few different data pieces that we sent that we didn't necessarily utilize in here just for space sake, but there's a lot more data that is available. Just kind of scrolling through, and you will see in here too from YOUniversity. So we are in the database, but just real quick too, I want to take a look at this guy here. So what this guy here is essentially, this is the PHP script that we were talking about. Basically, in our research, we found out PHP is the best language to use for server-side scripting. It's very light and it runs really well with the MySQL database and the application. But to save you guys the gory details, essentially, this part that we have here takes in information, builds a SQL query from it, gets a result back from the SQL query, and packages it into a JSON file, which is then sent to the application. And the application, I'll show you guys real quick again too, comes into here, again, pretty easily, just takes in all of your data, sends that data off to the server, it makes a request, and then it receives it back, unpacks that JSON file, makes it readable. There's a few error catching pieces here or there where if it gets too many results, it won't display them all just for memory's sake. And if you don't get any results, it'll require you to type in or open up your search parameters rather. But and again, a lot of it was just us teaching ourselves a little bit more Android, how the database works, and things of that nature.
So future plans with the application, like we said, a lot of the work was just basically back end, setting up the server, stuff like that. So we didn't get as far as we planned with functionality yet. So we want to include more functionalities, a better looking, easier to use UI, and then towards the end, we still need to work on how we're going to steer potential students towards platforms. Anything else?
I think that's it. Yeah, we just hope to get the functionalities going, and hopefully we could, pass it on a semester or two and get it developed and eventually published on the Google Play Store and have YOUniversity kind of have an application built by students on the Play Store available. So that's all we have.